morning, Facebook TV land. I am so happy to see you again. It's been a couple of days, and I surely appreciate everyone's patience. And we're back. The Caffeinated Cooper Show at night, and I am so excited. Tonight, I have a guest that I've been chasing for the past couple of weeks, and I finally have a moment of his time, and I'm so very thankful. It is Matt Wikof of the Wikof Project, and I'm going to bring him up right now because he is just super cool. It's his birthday tomorrow. Oh. You caught me.
Thank you.
How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. Excellent. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm so glad that you're able to have some time with me. And I've been listening to a lot of your music, and I absolutely love your sound. Your voice is so powerful, but it's such a warm sound. Tell me a little bit about your band, if you wouldn't mind.
Well, and I appreciate that. Thank you. Basically, we are a three-piece band out of West Palm Beach, Florida. Myself, I play guitar and I sing. I have Adam K on bass and TJ Bumgarner on drums. We've been together for about a year. We've all played in different bands. I've played in bands for years, and so has Adam. And TJ's been playing. He's the baby of the band. He's a lot younger than us. And we've been together for about a year, maybe a little bit longer. But actually, in the last 6 months, we just started putting it out there, and it's been getting good response. So it's really brand new, but it's, we've been getting some good shows and some good feedback, and it's just basically a hard rock band. It is traditional hard rock, kind of with something like 90s feel, like kind of going back to that time. But it's just a traditional hard rock band, which I feel is kind of missing in music today. You don't really have that much just straightforward, no bells and whistles, aggressive but yet passionate hard rock. No computerized stuff and DJs and effects and all that stuff. We just plug in and we play. And the message behind it is I try to write about stuff that's positive, because there's enough negativity in this world that we already have. So that's kind of the message. We can talk about that later, about kind of my story. I'm if you want to talk about that, but I'm, if you want to bring it up, but I'm in recovery from a heroin addiction. So all the songs we're not so much a recovery band, but all the songs are my personal story.
Mm-hmm.
How I've recovered, and it's always in a positive light, because, like I said, there's too much negativity in this world, and I refuse to write anything about anything negative. I've done that for years, and it just puts out bad vibes.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
We're just a good hard rock band from West Palm.
That is awesome. Well, I definitely want to get into your story, but I see a microphone there. I think you're holding a guitar, maybe because you're a guitarist, but would you mind playing something? Would you mind sharing some of your talent with us?
I'm going to play once. I wasn't, remember, I brought it up to you. I wasn't really going to. I didn't know that was the form for this. I'm going to get a drink of water.
Okay.
So, oh, there you go. Can you hear that okay?
Getting a little bit of feedback.
No, it's just... Are you getting feedback? It's just the echo on my voice. It should be okay. So anyway, I'm going to play a song. It's about during some of the darkest times of my life, when I was, actively using drugs, and everything was crumbling around me, and really my own worst enemy was me, and I stood in my own way of trying to heal and trying to get back to the man that I used to be. And a lot of times that's what happens, is, like I said, we're our own worst enemy and we stand in our own way. So the song is about that. It's about standing in your own way instead of just surrendering and, humbling yourself. Okay? So, in my own. I just did this live on Facebook just a couple of minutes ago, so hopefully it'll sound good on this little thing. You said my microphone picked up good, right? Like, you can hear me clear and all that stuff?
I can hear you clear. I do hear a little bit of echoing, but if that's good.
Like that? You hear that?
Oh, we're good. We're good.
Good. So the song's called In My Own Way. I close my eyes for the last time and forever. Am I worth saving? I filled my life with foolish pride and righteous anger. Am I worth saving? Through it all, the angel by my side was keeping me, from saying goodbye. 'Cause I've been a sinner and laughed at the saints. All of that time I've been under the weight of this world. I've been standing in my own way. 'Cause I wore a crown in the den of the thieves, pulling the rug out from under my feet. And I know I've been standing in my own way. You pulled me in, heal the loneliness I'm giving. Am I worth loving? So push me out to save the lives that I've been taking. Am I worth loving? Through it all, the angel by your side is keeping you here from saying goodbye. 'Cause I've been a sinner and laughed at the saints. All of that time I've been under the weight of this world. I've been standing in my own way. 'Cause I wore a crown in the den of the thieves, pulling the rug out from under my feet. And I know I've been standing in my own way. 'Cause it feels like tomorrow is a million miles away, and I can't take the sorrow, and I don't wanna fade. And you're keeping me, from saying goodbye. 'Cause I've been a sinner and left at the saints. All of that time I've been under the weight of this world. I've been standing in my own way. I wore a crown in the den of the thieves, pulling the rug out from under my feet. And I know I've been standing in my own way. Yeah, my own way. My own way. And I'm worth saving, yeah.
Yes! I love it! Ah! Oh my gosh, you have such power and soul in your voice.
Thank you.
Ah!
That's a
All
new
right,
one.
I gotta compose myself. Wow. You are absolutely worth loving.
Thank you.
And I know you're a married man, not hitting on you. Just saying, wow, that's amazing. And before you sang that, we've had some people come and go. I just want to say it again. You are sober.
Yes.
You've gone through a long journey to get there.
Yes.
From being addicted to heroin and alcohol.
Yes. I have 7 years sober. In March 10th, I'll have 7 years.
Congratulations on that.
Marijuana, nothing. Completely absent from drugs and alcohol. 7 years.
Wow. When you first used, that very first time you used heroin, where were you? And take me back to then.
The very first time, well, I'll give you a little, it's kind of funny. I've done drugs through since I've been 13, starting, smoking pot and all that stuff. This was back a long time ago, and it wasn't as, drug addiction was kind of like this taboo, weird thing that you saw on, I'll date myself, shows like Beretta and Starsky and Hutch and stuff. It wasn't it was weird. Nobody was really talking about. So, when I was 13, I was smoking pot and doing acid and hanging out in the back of an El Camino, drinking beers, listening to Iron Maiden when I was in high school. It was very. It's not innocent because I would kill my kids if they were doing that now. I don't know how. Crap, but it was back then. It was innocent, and then and I never wanted to do pills or hard drugs. I think I did cocaine a couple times, and I was always I'm hyperactive, so it did cocaine stuff just always freaked me out. So I smoked a lot of pot. So I had a friend of mine, or not a friend, but a guy I worked with. I don't even know why I even did it, why I did heroin, but I can tell you, growing up, I was always insecure and anxious, and always felt just weird. I never felt like I fit in. I'm kind of short, so I always just not that I didn't fit in because I've always been a joker and talking a lot and all that stuff, but I just always just felt like something was off, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe I did drugs and stuff like that. Smoking pot was kind of a social thing, but anyway, so I always felt insecure and just anxious all the time. So when I did heroin, I think I was 22 when I first did it. Exactly where I was with my girlfriend. She didn't know, and we were at my house, and I just remember just laying in my bed and being so at ease and comfortable, right? That, like I said, I was just like, oh, this is just the greatest, most elusive feeling, and which turned out to be a huge lie. But you see, because of anxiety, not able to cope with how I was designed, you know what I mean, with how I was designed, that's like self medication. That was, instead of dealing with, having the instinct to deal with my anxiety or my nervousness or insecurities, I used drugs and alcohol. So heroin was a very powerful drug, and it is the biggest lie in the world. It started a whirlwind of, because I couldn't get enough, and not because I was physically addicted right away, but just because I did not want to feel the way I felt. Does it make sense? I didn't want to feel. Mm-hmm. I wanted to feel at ease and comfortable. And alcohol gave me a hangover. Pot made you feel too weird. Like I said, that was my answer. Anyway, it started off a horrible. For 17 years on and off, I had a relationship with heroin, and jail, prison, stealing, lying, cheating, all that stuff, and I don't even. It's like nobody in my family was like that. You know what I mean? So it's not like I come from this street thing of all my cousins went to jail and everything. It was some, you know what I mean? Where I just took this path that my family was just like, "What are you doing?" And like I said, ended up actually getting a. So anyway, whatever. I just started to do heroin like that, and was stealing and doing all that stuff. And eventually, what had happened was I ended up going to prison for 4.5 years for stealing. This was back And you would think that, because this, hey, kids out there in TV land, don't do drugs because this is what will happen to you, and you think it won't. Because if you would have told me I was going to go to prison for 5 years when I was, 20 years old, I told you you're out of your mind. It's never going to happen to me, And those are all the good promises of doing drugs and alcohol. And you would think that that would have changed me, right? Like, oh, well, that's a big deal. Like, that was a big deal, And I got out and got married, and I wasn't doing drugs because I didn't want to go back to prison. But I had no. When you get sober, there's got to be some kind of spiritual change that happens. I don't want to get too religious or anything like that, but there's some spiritual change that needs to happen inside in your heart. Like, it's not up here. I can sit here and intellectualize it all I want. It's not going to happen. So during that time, it was all just external things that kept me from using drugs. So I had some sobriety back then. After in 2000, from 2000 to 2002, I was sober, maybe a little bit longer, about 2.5 years. But I had no spirituality whatsoever. I had not changed at all. I just was not using drugs and alcohol. Go back to jail. And I never had that change. I didn't change anything about myself. I still was self-centered. I was still selfish, still anxious. I had not worked on any of the kind of stuff that I needed to work on. And so I used external things. I got married. I bought a house. I had kids. And I started drinking. So this is what I tell people too, is a lot of people are fooled into thinking that you can, well, as long as I didn't do heroin or cocaine, I can still smoke pot and I can still drink. A lot of people do that, and they end up going back to their drug of choice. That's what I did. So it's like, well, as long as I don't do heroin, I'm never doing heroin again because I know it's going to take me to prison, and it really F's my life up. So I'm not going to do it. But I'm going to drink and I'm going to smoke pot. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to get married because I think these other things are going to make me feel better. And I'm going to have my house because like my life's back together again, And I started drinking heavily, drinking a lot. And during that time, I'm a musician, as you can tell, since I just played guitar.
Right.
Probably like, who is this guy? I'm a musician. I'm just telling the story. So, and I always wanted to be a rock star. I always wanted to do that stuff, and I've been doing it all my life and playing bands and doing that just never happened. And it wasn't necessarily because of drugs and alcohol. It just was, because people that are drug addicts become rock stars and famous. It has nothing to do with that. Just I wasn't in the right place at the right time. Mm-hmm. So after I got out of jail, I get married, have kids, everything's going to be wonderful. Still drinking. I ended up playing in a band. I get a record contract. I was in a band called Another Black Day. And at the time I started, at that period of time, I was drinking and everything. Everything was going good with the band. We're playing out and starting to get some attention. A song on the radio, and I relapse on, which is the scourge of, it was at the time back then, was opiates, like pills, like painkillers. I got into that same thing. Same thing as heroin. It's just regulated. So, and not as strong, really. But, so during that time, I get a record contract, and I start getting back on opiates again, and I go out on the road. I'm doing drugs behind my wife's back. She has no clue. Due to me drinking and not having any kind of spiritual program or any kind of change in my life, I did those opiates, did painkillers, and just went off the rails with that. Again, external things weren't working. I still was anxious and still never worked on myself. So I need those pills again. It was like, yeah, I'm back again to being calm and whatever I need to do to feel good, which is a lie because it does not do that. It does that at first, and then all of a sudden takes your soul. That's what it does every single time. Mm-hmm. So I go out on the road and everything that you would imagine a rock and roll band does on the road, and then some. It's everything I always wanted. It's like while I'm married and have kids. So here I am, drug addicted, married, have kids, and I'm like, hey, honey, I've been doing drugs behind your back for the last 3 years. Now I'm going to go on the road for like months at a time. Um, Needless to say, that didn't pan out too well. My band did relatively well. I had songs on the radio, been in magazines, interviews, made a lot of money. I mean, we weren't huge, but we were getting there. I've played with bands like, opened up for Stone Temple Pilots, Alice in Chains, all that stuff. Shine Down, like played in front of 30,000 people, and I played in front of like 10 people, and like, you know what I mean? It was just
Yeah.
this. I was doing that. I got everything I wanted. It's like kind of be careful what you wish for, because it was a very lonely. Like I can see why rock stars and actors and stuff in that realm, maybe not actors so much. I think if you're on site for a long time, I guess, but like they no wonder they do drugs and drink. It's boring and there's nothing going on. It's lonely, and unless you're like Mick Jagger and you can fly all over the country in your private jet with your family or whatever. But here I was at like 38 years old. Did I just say? I'm not going to tell you that year. So, riding around in a van, getting high, and being a horrible husband. Let's just put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So that ended up coming to a head. We were successful. We were doing really well, but my drug addiction was getting out of control, and I was sick all the time and miserable. And not only was I just doing pills, I was drinking. Every single, I was an alcoholic as well. That's when I realized I was an alcoholic. And I it came to a head when my wife gave me an ultimatum, because here I have 2 boys, a wife, a mortgage, and I'm kicking around trying to be a rock star, being obnoxious. I mean, it's literally no money was coming home. Every bit of money I made went for drugs and alcohol. Every cent, tens of thousands of dollars. I'm not lying, like tens of thousands of dollars. Like nobody ever saw but me, because I wrote all this stuff, and none of them went home. So my wife gave me all. Some other stuff had happened. She gave me an ultimatum. It's either me and these boys, or this band. Now, which is, remember, it's like choosing between two of your kids. Like, I love my wife and I love my kids, but I also, it's something I've been wanting to do since I was a little kid. Like passion of playing music. I'm actually having a career in doing it. However, I'm screwing it up. I mean, I'm not realizing I'm actually screwing it up because I'm so high and drunk all the time. Eventually, it's going to implode, but at the time, it was really rough. So I really couldn't make the decision. So the decision was made for me, and this is where I believe in divine intervention. And I'll never forget it. That we were on tour with, I'm not going to name the name. We were on tour with a big band. They're big now. They were huge there, and they were big at the time. And we were on tour with them, and we were in Lauderdale. It's like they waited till we got to Lauderdale. I was being such a jerk all the time. They hated me, and so we got to Fort Lauderdale. We were about to do another leg of the tour. Like, we'd gone for like 4 months. I'm talking like Vegas, California, all over the West Coast, and then some. Like, it was going to be for months. It was the second part of it. And they ended up kicking us off the tour that day. And to me, when I look back, it kind of like gave my answer. Does it make sense? It gave my answer for me. I wasn't going to make the decision. And if that wouldn't have happened, I would have gone on tour. I would have been divorced, not seeing my kids. Who knows what had happened to me, because I was not trying to get sober at all.
Mm-hmm.
What about was getting high and drinking, and it just happened for me. And like I said, I'll never forget. Like, and I believe in God. I don't know why I'm talking about that. And I believe that God really just stepped in and was like, "I'm gonna go ahead and put the reins on this, brother. Like, you're not gonna go." Because I wasn't strong enough to make the decision. I was too torn. And you would think that was real, and I quit. I quit that band, having a signed band, making thousands of dollars, living the dream, whatever you want to say. And I walked away from it. Like, the record company still play, like, "Oh, we'll just send you to rehab, blah blah blah," and you go on your own tour, and because we could draw thousands of people on our own, at least, not like tens of thousands, but we could fill up a small to medium sized venue on our own.
I have a question about that, though.
Go ahead.
I'm
talking too much?
No, no, not at all, not at all. But before the moment passes, I just definitely want to ask. So when you were drinking all the time and taking the pills and just touring like you were, what was your performance like?
Well, I thought it was good until I looked back and watched some of that crap.
You thought it was epic.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm like, we're awesome. Plus, people blow smoke up your butt too and tell you how great you are. But when I go back and look at that crap, it's not very. Now, actually, that's not true. It, it wasn't as. It's. I think it's better now. How about that? I think that now I could never sing like I just sang right then. Never. Not being high, not being drunk. No way. There's no way I could do it. Performance wise, we were sloppy. It's not nearly. If you ever do see our band play live, that this new one, all of us are in sobriety. All of us are sober, so there's no drugs and alcohol anywhere, and it's a lot different. So no, it's not. It's really bad. Yeah, it's bad. It was bad. Our performance sucked. So I'm about to wrap it up real quick with this my little backstory. So anyway, I quit the band, and you would think that was admirable. Like, oh, he's such a good dude. He's chose his wife, and he's gonna. No, it was horrible. I didn't know who I was. You know what I mean? I was like, who am I? Where am I? And I just delved way deeper into drugs and alcohol at that point, to where we finally in 2000, like 2009 to 2011, because that's when I quit. It was in 2009. 2007 is when I got the record contract. 2009, the end of 2009 was when I was out, and so in the middle of 2009. So 2009, 2010 were probably the worst years of my life, to where it was just I was getting ready to go back to prison again. Let's put it that way. And
Wow.
now here I have two kids and a wife now. Before when I didn't have that crap. I was just, a young 27-year-old kid that just was like, whatever. This is going to be weird. I'll be out when you know what I mean? I didn't care. I did, but you know what I mean? It wasn't the same. The older you get, so I always tell these younger kids, and we can talk about it too because I work in treatment, not trying to sell the program, but I do.
Oh, we'll talk about it.
Okay. Is that it's hard I got sober when I was 41. And that is hard because if you start, first of all, physically it's hard to take. Second of all, you've not dragged along, but you've acquired, you have family, you have kids, you have material, house, you know what I mean? It's like, you just have so much more going on, and it was hard. And everybody, I had a lot of enablers. My wife enabled me during that period of time. My mother was horrible. Um, me lying to her and getting, here I am like in my late 30s, like getting money from my mother. It was just the typical drug addict crap. And eventually they cut me off. I got in trouble at my work for all the good stuff like the lying, cheating, and stealing, and ended up Baker acting myself. That's what I did. In March 10th, 2011, I had enough. I was done. And everybody cut me off. I wasn't homeless. I guess I was homeless for like one day. That was enough. I'm not designed for that. So I ended up just taking myself to a psych ward and just going in and just like that's it. Like I'm done. I really truly at that point I believe that God had touched me. I said I don't like to get crazy religious, but I really believe in that. That was like, dude, you're done. Like I was just done. I didn't want to do it anymore. Like the party was over. The party had been over probably in 1996, and I kept that thing rolling all the way. And I just was finished, and I was going to do whatever it took to not ever, at least for that day. I just wanted to be on the path and not ever do it again. Does it make sense? Where I didn't want to.
Absolutely.
And it really I'm talking in the heart of hearts, not up here, not where I intellectualize it, but in my heart, in my heart of hearts, where I was like, I'm just finished, man. I can't do this anymore. It had nothing to do with losing my wife, maybe, or my kids, or my house, or my bands, or my mom, and my sit. Like, I didn't care. It was like, I'm just done, man. I can't do this. I'm an empty shell of a man, and I don't like it. And I went in to a psych ward, which is out of control. I was like, why am I here? And I remember getting on my knees that night and begging God to remove that from me, to take that from me. Like, please, I'll do whatever. And it wasn't like a foxhole prayer of like trying to, people will do that. Like, I'll never do it again, please. It wasn't that. It was sincere surrender and humility of like, please, like, I don't. That's what like that song was about. If I could write out the lyrics and shit, but that's what it's about. Is being. I was in my own way, and then I finally just was like, okay, I'm not gonna stand that in my own way. I'm gonna let light come. You know what I mean? Let that come in and get out of the way because I'm just killing myself and I'm killing everybody around me emotionally. So ever since that day, and there's other stuff I did. I didn't go to rehab, but I went to some whatever. Doesn't matter. I got So I've been sober ever since that day, but it takes a lot of work and a lot of courage and even willpower. It takes a lot of humility and surrender and like really believing in a higher power. It doesn't. I tell people it doesn't matter. I'm Christian, but I mean it doesn't matter if you're Buddhist or Hindu. It doesn't matter. I don't care what it is. You can believe in Egyptian gods. I don't care, but it's not you. Like that's why I tell people like you're not God. And whatever that looks like to you, the tide can be your God. You don't control the tides. You don't control that. I mean, so it doesn't matter. I just chose a specific path because it was comfortable for me. And I've been sober ever since, man. I've been grateful, and I've had ups and downs during sobriety. I'm never the one like, you know what, Elizabeth, I got sober and I'm farting rainbows and unicorns and everything.
That's awesome. How do you handle stress and anxiety now sober?
Okay. It's funny that you mentioned that, Elizabeth. So anyway, I was just talking about that recently. I just embrace it. It's funny, like people take meds. Like if I went to a psychiatrist right now or psychologist, they'd be like, dude, you need to be on some kind of anti-anxiety medication. There's no doubt about it. Like they're like, let's start with first of all, we're going to give you Lexapro, and then we're probably going to give you, can you take Xanax? No Xanax. But they would probably be like, we got to find an alternative. They would definitely do it. I just embrace it. It's who I am. It's who I was designed to be. And you know what? Meditation, breathing, and it's not paralyzing anymore. Does it make like it's not paralyzing anxiety? I'm just a high-strung person in general. And instead of trying to mask that, I don't sleep very well. You know what I mean? I'm one of those people that can, sleeps like 4 hours and can function. But so I just embrace it. It's who I am, and I don't want anything to mask it. It's how I was designed. There's nothing I can do about it. Like I said, if it was paralyzing where I couldn't function, it'd be a different story. But it's not. So it just, to me, it's just living like who I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's really interesting.
I was that babbling for like what, good 25 minutes?
Well, give me a second. I'll pick up somewhere. No. I was thinking for a second because I have a daughter. She's young. She's 10. And she has tons of anxiety. I mean, just tons of crazy stuff. Like she just can't shut off her mind, and all this noise just kind of circles in there. And I really feel for her. And I can only imagine what you've gone through with your journey in addiction and coming out and into sobriety and with kids and married and responsibilities, and you've got a band, and we're about to get into Simple Path Recovery in just a moment. My hat is off to you because that can't be easy.
It's not easy. And the thing is really that it's just interesting. So like I say, I have almost 7 years. And I'll be honest with you, the first 2 years, the first 3 years were easy. Because, not easy, but it was like I was done. So the first year is like desperation. Like, I just don't want to do this anymore. So I need to learn how to not even do drugs. Drugs are the symptom, you know what I mean, of all the other bullshit. So, sorry. So it's the other.
Okay.
So drugs are the symptom of that, of what. So the first year is like, you're just trying to just not get high, right? Like, okay, so you're trying to get to that year and you're counting it. Second and third year, I was like on fire for like Alcoholics Anonymous and church and stuff like that. So I was really in this weird spiritual hilltop. Like, I've arrived, and I'm working the program, and I'm going to church, and I'm playing guitar in churches, praise the Lord, and going nuts, like this really unrealistic bubble, this recovery bubble of nonsense. And it happens to a lot of people. I always see it. And then in my third, fourth year, and I didn't get high, but that's when I think it was around 4 years. Yeah, so about 4 years in. So second and third year on fire, going nuts. I'm sober forever, love it. And then the fourth year, man, life started to happen. I went through. Me and my wife were going through some issues. We separated for a little bit. I was miserable at my job. Not the Simple Path Recovery. I was working for another treatment center. I was miserable at my job. I was separated and was doing all kind. I always share this story too with people because I want to let them know. Like it's because you hear that a lot. Like, I'm sober now, my life's awesome. Like, that's crap. No, it doesn't work that way. It's still life, and stuff happens to people that don't. Situations happen to people that don't do drugs. They have trauma in their lives. It's rare that people just live these lives that have never had any issues. God bless them if they have.
Right.
I'm sure some people have, whatever, probably fairy tale lives, but I don't.
Not real people.
So, so I went through a lot of stuff, and but I made a 180 because of my spiritual life and the higher, the connection I have with my higher power. I changed that because I was off the chain then. I just wasn't getting high. I was on my way to, because I was doing all the same stuff. I was separated from my wife, acting like I was 25. It was dishonest. So I started even doing that, and not having 4 years sober. So maybe that was my way of coping with, again, you know what I mean? Like, so it was another thing. Just kind of get high. Now there's another thing coming in of to make me, to validate, or to using external things to make me feel better.
Yeah.
And I caught it. See, the thing is, now I'm not on autopilot. Like, I have that connection with my higher power to where I made a 180 and turned around since then. So ever since then, it's and that's just how I deal with it. You know what I mean? Like, I've gone through all these things where I know going back to old behaviors, being dishonest, selfish, and ungrateful is going to take me back out again. It can be in any form or fashion. It doesn't have to necessarily be drugs or alcohol. It can be women. It can be anything. That's what happens to me. My anxiety and all that stuff. And it's funny. I have an 11-year-old. Maybe it's just kids these days. He's off the chain with that too. Like, he's just anxious. Maybe it's the TV shows they want.
I think I would have been just a bundle of nerves if I had all this connectivity. I was talking about it a couple of days ago, where it's really tough to be a kid, because I remember going to school, and there were times and places where I would get picked on for this or that. We didn't call it bullying then, but I guess that's what it was. And you walked home. You left it, and you left it at school, and then you wake up the next morning and say, "Oh, my I can't go to school," and you try to get out of school, and that was your way out of it. Now, these kids can't get away from it because they're so plugged in. They have iPads that now we can validate, oh, they need the iPad because they do schoolwork on it. Yeah, okay, like 10% of the time. And they need a cell phone because, God forbid I need to call somebody and I can't get a hold of my kid. Please. My mother had a bell. I mean,
I was joking about with my friends. I'm like, how did we get a hold of each other?
We didn't. We had times. We had to be responsible for,
Right.
If you were told to be home at 5, you were home at 5.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter what happened from 8 o'clock in the morning until 5. But yeah, it was just a different world. And I think if I was plugged in like that, where you're at school and somebody's picking on you, and then they put something out there on a public forum, and it's chasing you at home too, it's like you got to feel like you just can't escape.
Yeah, it's rough. And so we actually, with my kid, don't do that. We took all that stuff from him. I have an older son who's 18, and we did all that stuff with him, with all the electronics and all, and being connected all the time. And with this one, because of his anxiety like that, we don't do it. We took all that away from him. He's not having a cell. He probably won't have a cell phone until he's like 16.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. It's crazy. So, but I've learned how to deal with like I said, the anxiety and all that stuff. And I do have a lot. And I have a lot going on now. Like I said, like some meditation, prayer, and just being is really what just happened. You know what I mean? Just being still, and this right here, this helps me as well. But hence me playing music. So when you ask, like, how do you deal with your anxiety, playing songs and singing is probably one of the main things that I do that keeps me sane. I can tell you that right now. Like,
Same here. You have something that is just resonating within your soul that that is home, you know, and yeah, I totally get it. And there's so many of those days where it's like you go through the day and you're kind of going through those motions because you have to at some points just to get through. Just and your stuff just comes flying at you on some days, and you got to take a break.
yeah.
And really get to know who you are and who your creator is. And I'm so proud of you. I have a lot of admiration for you. What's that?
I said I'm a train wreck. I was kidding.
I'm so proud of you, Trainwreck. No, I really am. And at this point, I want to talk about Simple Path Recovery. You're director of operations over there, right?
I'm the director of operations of Simple Path Recovery in Pompano Beach, Florida. Yes.
It is a cool facility. And this is a facility for men recovering from.
Oh, you got the little Simple Path picture.
You. I stole the logo. So, but we won't really
Hold it up.
But it's a cool family run. I guess, would you call it a hospital? Is it a full blown?
No. It's an intensive outpatient program, and we have they have living. It's not like a one facility. Like there's housing, and we just added a women's program. It was all men's, but then we just recently added a separate, like another miles away. But we have women. We opened up a small program, like a little boutique thing for women, select few. You know what I mean? So it's not a co-ed place really. So it's mostly men. Um, it's we have housing provided, like the sober living facility. You know what I mean? That's oceanside housing.
Wow.
But they come to group every day. So intensive outpatient is like 3 hours a group a day, and individual therapy and ancillary services and stuff like that. So they do get the therapy that they need. It is like all of us, me, and the two owners, Justin and Sam, and some of the other employees that have been there. Like I started it with them. It's their company, but I was at the ground level with them. We had one client, not even any clients in the beginning. It's like 3 years ago, and it's a very tight knit family. Like we like I love these. We're just really close. I can't even. I've never had a job like that ever. Never will. Like they are my family, and so it's very tight knit, very individualized. And they get where our clinical directors had like 27 years or something like that, 22 or 25, something like that, years in the field. Adam Sasloff, he's very well known in Palm Beach County. All of our therapists are licensed. Some of these places don't. They just have anybody just running group and all that stuff. Like they're all licensed. And we try to provide these guys with some, to provide them with some insight, some treatment. It's hard. It's a tough industry, man. I'm not gonna lie. It's like it's a rough, it's disheartening and rewarding at the same time. You get so many people that come through, and you just try to guide them the best you can. Like I have an open door policy. I talk to every single client, so do the owners. And
I was about to ask you that. How do you get into the program? So it's just you can just walk in and request help?
Well, you can. I mean, it's just like any other medical thing. I mean, we take insurance and we don't take insurance. We scholarship some people. It just depends. I mean, it's a private run thing. It's like when you go to the doctor, you got to either self pay or using your insurance, or they bill you later. I mean, it's the same kind of. It's a medical. It's billed like a medical situation. So yeah, they can just come in and call the number if they need help, and we'll just do whatever we can. Like I said, we take insurance. And we sometimes we scholarship a lot of people. We do that a lot, which means free. Like we'll just if someone doesn't have insurance or doesn't have cash to pay, you know what I mean, like that kind of stuff, that we let them. It just happens. It just depends on the situation, but that's how usually treatment is anyway. Most of it is insurance,
Okay. We've got a question up here. Ronnie Stanley is asking, have you ever heard of the Genesis curriculum? I have not. Do you know what that is? Okay.
Never heard of it. So,
No.
but no, I don't know what to ask him what it is.
Yeah, Ronnie, what is that?
So, like I said, treatment is a great treatment is good. It's needed. There's actually an epidemic. It's twofold. Lately, I don't know if you've really watched the news. Treatment's gotten a lot of bad rap. There's been a lot of bad players in the treatment industry. I don't know if you're watching this or not. People got greedy and they started doing crooked stuff. Okay, backs of the bruised, off the backs of hurting people. You know what I mean? And like human trafficking, like shuffling client from client, that to facility and getting paid for them. It's disgusting. Okay, it's happened. So it's kind of tainted the industry down the south. So I don't really I don't mind talking about it with you because you're asking me, but I usually don't because people are like, oh, it's just a South Florida treatment center. Well, let me make it crystal clear, and I don't even need to defend myself. I work there and I operate in integrity. We never got involved in any of that kind of stuff. We're new anyway. We're like relatively new, but people did some really bad things, and it's really sad. And to me, this is an epidemic. So what treatment does is I get clients that come in, 22-year-old kid. It's like, why do I have to come to group, right? Why do I see my therapist? Why do I have to have a curfew? Why do I have to, it's like, dude, if you want to be sober, you'll do whatever it takes. And even if it's coming to group and having to sit in that group, even if you don't want to be there, and like, well, what am I learning out of this group? Okay, I'm not a therapist, so I don't have a curriculum that they do. I don't personally know. I don't pay attention to that stuff because I'm Michael Johnson. That's a whole other show. And I'm like, you know what you can learn out of this group? Patience and tolerance because you don't have any. You know what I mean? It's like treatment is really good. It gets you out of the street. It's very structured. And we have a good place. We actually care about all our clients. We really, really do. And it's such a devastating epidemic right now. I mean, people, I don't know if you've heard, I'm sure you've seen on the news, like people are dying like left and right. I think the statistics like 175 people a day are like dying from heroin overdoses. That's off the chain. That is completely unnecessary. And so we provide them the treatment, but like I was telling you the story, they have to be done. We can just do the best we can and provide guidance for them and plant seeds. Does that make sense? Like some of them get it, some of them don't. But we do the best we can.
I have Ronnie coming back and telling us, and I want to come back to that hashtag 175. So he's saying it's a curriculum used to stop relapses from addiction, and then he says again, right now it appears to be becoming the industry standard for missions involved in recovery and rehab. So thank you, Ronnie, for that.
I never heard of it.
Okay. So I saw on the Simple Path Recovery Facebook page the hashtag 175.
Yes.
And I just want to reiterate, that's 175 people statistically are dying per day from opioid overdose.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is insane. I looked up a couple of statistics, and this is just the beginning of 2018. So what I could find was all reported for 2016. And there was just shy of 65,000 people that died of opioid drug overdose in 2016. And the chart, as you know, is absolutely insane because it's just going straight up. Like there's no, what is it going to take, in your opinion, to slow this down, to maybe even stop it? What's it gonna take?
It's such a, there's so many different, in my opinion, I can't even answer the question because there's so many different things that some people advocate making it legal. Okay, there's some people that are like this weird, like harm reduction is what they call it. Like, so making it legal or providing needles for people, providing Narcan for people for free, like if they overdose, like, or being on methadone, like there's, so you have those people. You have people that are like, well, we need stronger law enforcement and like crack down on the drug dealers, right? Like, well, we need to stop it from coming in, right? So there's like, how to stop that is like, or more treatment provided. Like the government needs to provide treatment, but see, I'm like a realist with that. Okay, so here's my opinion on it. How do you stop that?
Okay.
Question, you and I we have to talk about that in private so we can make billions of dollars off it, because farmers to me is BS. You're just it's a crutch. So you're going to put him on methadone, put him on Suboxone, give him clean needles, give him Narcan if he overdoses. He's not going to stop, right? Not going to stop. Crack down on the drug dealers. Okay, let's crack down on the drug dealers. Another one's going to come up. We're not going to stop Mexican cartels or heroine from coming in. You know what I'm saying? Like wherever they're from. Do you know what I'm saying? We're not going to stop it. We're just not going to. Who knows if I don't even want to get into conspiratorial stuff for government primaries. I'm just kidding. But so that's that factor, right? So then more treatment. Treatment's good. More treatment and government-run treatment where people can provide it instead of stigmatizing people that are drug addicts and looking at, like I was joking about being on Starsky and Hutch and like Beretta, like this gross, weird thing. Like, no, this is killing our kids, okay, our children and adults as well. I've known so many people that have died from the ages of 19, known personally, had them in my office, talking with them, pleading with them, bonding with them, you know what I mean, whatever, just yelling at them, whatever, having conversations with them that are no longer between the ages. The youngest was 18, actually not even 19, 18 to like 60 and everything in between. You know what I mean? Like, it's discriminate. So treatment is good. So the government should maybe provide that, but here's the problem, Elizabeth. If the person doesn't want it, none of those things are going to work anyway. Do you know what I mean? And
I do.
That's the sad thing. Is that, and I tell people all the time, like, you gotta want this, man. Like I told you, like when they come in and complain to me, like, because I'm the director of operations, but they'll come to me with their problems, like, oh, I don't like the way I have to, and I'm like, how bad do you want to be sober? Because I know I take myself back to when I told you that story of sitting in a psych ward, begging my higher power to remove it from me, and I've been sober ever since. I didn't, you know what I mean? So going to treatment, being on methadone, clean needles, stopping drug dealers, it's really up to the individual. But I do think the government should. I'm not about big government, but I do think that it shouldn't be so chastised of like, oh, screw those drug addicts or whatever, man, because it's killing a lot of people, and it's a sad. Like, I wasn't a bad person. I did drugs. I wasn't bad. I came from a great family. And it just, whatever reason I did it for, I did. And I did horrible things. I mean, not like, I stole. I was a bad person. Or I did bad things. I wasn't a bad person. So I think we shouldn't look at it like that. And I think, give everybody a chance. That's what I'm saying. At my place, trust me, if I had my way, but the owners will tell you this. You talk to them, like, I'm a hard ass. Like, I didn't go to treatment. I went to like psych wards and free rehabs where they treat you like crap. Okay, so if I had my way, we'd have no clients because I'd throw them out for not making their bed right. You know what I mean? So and it's funny. If a client was watching this, they would laugh because they like me anyway, because they know, because I just shoot straight, right? So our place does give a crap. Like, we do the best we can, man. I want them to be sober. I wish I could slap every one of them, like, never use again. And down the road, they will. I had and I'll shut up in a second. That I had a guy, and this is why I like working in treatment. I had a dude that we had. It was a horrible client. He kept relapsing over and over again. And I remember he relapsed, and for the last time we threw him out. Not threw him out, but just sent him to another place because it wasn't working for us. Or he left. I think he left. I don't even remember what he did. I think he left. So anyway, he was just horrible, and he was going to continue to get high. And I remember talking to him like, dude, you don't have to, like, like, what are you doing? Because he was really smart, very charming individual, and I liked him, but he just couldn't stop using, right? Because we're not a locked down facility. They're free, so they can just go and do whatever they want.
Okay.
Really tough business. Yeah, it's tough. It's like the hardest. IOPs, intensive outpatient, probably the toughest in the treatment field, because you have to, like, give them the therapy, but then they have their own. They don't. You can do IOP from your house. You don't even have to live in our facility. You can do it from your home. So
So it's tough. It's tough for you.
it's tough for us. It's tough for the kid. Yeah, it's tough because you have to really pay attention to it. Like, you can't just
Okay.
like, yeah, whatever. You got to really pay attention to it. It's hard. So anyway, the guy's really bad. So anyway, I get a text. It's like 2 years later, and the guy texts me. He's like, "Hey man, I just want to tell you, I got 2 years sober now. I work at a treatment facility out in Colorado, and I was a client of mine, a relapse, and I was sitting outside talking to him, and he was saying that he was like, and what I was saying sounded really familiar. And he's like, I just had to message you because why I was familiar is because of what you had told me that day that I had relapsed. And that, like, brought tears to my eyes, because that's what it's all about. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was like, really sweet, because then what we're doing isn't in vain. Does that make sense? Because sometimes it feels like, are we really doing any good? But that guy who everybody said didn't have a chance messaged me 2 years later to tell me what I had said 2 years ago. He was sitting outside, like, wow, that's because what Matt told me is the same thing. And that's a beautiful thing. To me, those are the God moments that make it all worth it, man.
Oh, absolutely. I can only imagine that it feels like it's like herding cats. Every once in a while, you
I like that. Let's start using that. It's like herding cats in here.
I mean, I don't mean to be like,
Oh no, it is. I like it. That's exactly
okay.
right.
Yeah, that's definitely the picture that I'm painting in my head, is that, eventually you catch one and it's like a celebration, because I can only imagine what that might be like. I've lived with an alcoholic before. Thankfully, he didn't do anything else that I knew of. But it's such a helpless feeling to realize that someone is struggling with something and there's not a damn thing you can do about it.
There really isn't. That's where I think with treatment, like, it's good, and there isn't anything we can do about it to really. All we can do is guide them, teach them, try to provide them, like, where maybe they can have some insight on their condition. You know what I mean? Because all of our clients have been detoxed, and they're not, like, sick and, like, in withdrawal, and they're, you know what I mean? They've all been through treatment centers, so where they can somewhat have the ability to fight whatever that, you know what I mean? The ability to, like, grasp what we're trying to do, and we a lot of stuff like that about what's happening in your family. Not teach, but the therapist will talk about, like, issues in their family, like anxiety issues and stuff like that, to where they can learn, they can figure out how to navigate. And plus the other stuff, like this highly structured environment, curfews, like, be home at 10 o'clock. You have to make your bed, like that kind of stuff. I know it seems silly, but I try to tell them it's not silly. It's just rules that need to be, like, applied, like, because it's the little things. When you start compromising little tiny things is when you start doing big things. Like, I'm not allowed to run a red light. It's a law. I can do it if I want, but I'm not supposed to do it. So it's the same concept. Like, if everybody just ran around and did that, it would be complete anarchy. So we try to guide them with a lot of structure. And you know what? A lot of people, it's the statistics show, I don't care where it is, what treatment center, I don't care if you're a multi-billion-dollar place or a mom and pop place that just started, man. It's like the statistics are, it's like you said, it's like herding cats. You get one, it's like, hell yeah. Hell yeah, you made it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you're in a brilliant spot because, like you said, they've been detoxed, or something has happened to where they said, okay, I have a problem.
Yes.
That, for me, as the person living with someone that does have a problem, that I see that they have a problem, everybody else sees that they have a problem. We all know they're not performing at work and they can't get up in the morning and this, that, and the other. It comes down to them realizing that they have a problem. And
Absolutely. That's what I was saying is the surrender and being
yeah,
and humility and being honest with yourself. And because I did a lot of alcohol and how familiar you are with like 12-step programs, Alcoholics Anonymous, but that's the first step is can't like my life's become manageable and all this stuff and I can't believe I didn't like five people watching this that knew they were still mad at me that I didn't remember that. But anyway, but with this principle behind the step is honesty, and it's being honest with yourself that you're an alcoholic. Or like I had to be honest with myself. Like, look, man, I'm a drug addict. I'm an alcoholic. Instead of being this weird denial and trying to navigate through life like that when everybody else is seeing it,
mm,
it takes for that person to see it. And what we do is try to maybe open their eyes a little bit. Does that make sense? Like as much
yeah,
as you can. And I trust me, I run groups and I go hard. They love it. I'm a little crazy, but I tell them how it is, and I use my own experience. It's not like I'm some dude that read a book about like let me read about addiction. No, I lived it, and I'm here like 7 years later, and have not gone back to it. And I used for a long time. Some of
yeah,
these
you really did.
17 years, almost 17 years old,
Really?
mostly on. Some of these kids just started like 3 years ago. It's like, dude, I'm telling you, it's going to be bad. But again,
Yeah.
it's all differential. They have to experience, and all we can do is guide them. And I think we do a good service. And it's unfortunate that treatment. Last year got a bad rap for a couple bad players, but I think we do a good job, and all we really care about our clients. And I hate saying that, like, if somebody from treatment's watching this, probably like, look at this guy, he's so full of crap, but I don't care.
No, we get it. I mean, I hardly even know you, but I know that you do care. And how can you not? I mean, you were using or drinking something from age 13 to 41.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, we know you care.
Yeah.
You're lucky to still be with us, to be quite honest.
Well, I believe that too. But this epidemic with this fentanyl and these people dying, like, there's no way. I always tell my wife that I'm like, I'm so grateful that I got out of it when I did, because there's no doubt in my mind that I would not be here right now. There's no way. The way I was using, there's no way that I would survive that. It's so deadly right now. So,
Oh, it's, yeah. All right. So I've put up simplepathrecovery.com is the website. And the phone number for anybody, if they didn't see what they're looking for on the website, they can call in at 855-467-3625. And I also had that up on the screen earlier. And I'd like to kind of come full circle and talk about All or Nothing, which is your newly released EP for the Wikof project.
yes.
So how long did it take you to put this album together?
So about not really that long, I should say, a couple months. Actually, 3 of the songs were recorded a year ago, and then the other 3 were recorded a couple months ago, maybe back in, I want to say, just in the summer. Actually, it's been that long already. So in the summer, we started recording. No, that's not true. In the last summer, we finally recorded, and then just recently, a couple months ago, we just finished. So it took about 6 months to do it. Some of the songs were older, and then we recorded 3 more. We just did like a demo back in the summertime, and then we decided to do 3 more songs, and then we wanted to put them all together and just release it. We didn't even release the demo. We just were just doing it, putting it online and stuff, like putting a video online. And so it took a little bit, and we're excited about it, man. It's good. I like it. I'm pleased.
It is. It's really good, and I found it on
hate pushing
iTunes.
it though. I'm like, go buy it. Like, I hate doing that. It's just so funny. It's such a I mean, the idea is for people to buy your stuff, but I don't. If I could just give it away for free to everybody, I would. I don't care. Like, it's not about to make money. My goal with this band is, you asked me at the beginning, but now that I'm more comfortable, because my goal with this band is to provide, kind of like Simple Path provides quality treatment. I'm trying to provide high quality hard rock music for people that want to hear it. Like that's really what my goal is. I'm not trying to be a rock star. I don't give a crap about making a lot of money off of it. I think music these days is absolutely, as far as rock music goes, and there's all kinds of things as far as rock bands go, they're like almost non-existent except for underground like we are, like just an independent situation. It doesn't exist anymore. And people my age, which is like, want to hear it, and so I'm very excited about it. Go buy it's on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Napster. That's still around for some reason. I found out today it's on Napster. I didn't even know that existed, but
I did not until this moment when I'm agreeing with you. I did not know we still had Napster, but it's also on Reverb Nation. And I'll tell you what I do in the morning. I love music. I always have. And so I'll put classical music on when the kids come down for breakfast. Mm-hmm. And, they've heard it their whole life, but they're like, what's this? And they just give me a hard time. And then they leave on the bus and I'll go, Alexa, play, metal, play rock, play 90s rock, play. And it's so crazy because Alexa will go through like the same 6 songs. I'm like, okay, seriously, this is not working for me. So it's very refreshing. And I went on iTunes. I've got you on my playlist. And I just truly, absolutely love everything that you guys are putting out. And then it's also super cool that as far as my listening, and I think I'm pretty good at listening because I've been a mommy for long enough, this is something that really the whole family can listen to because the message is positive. And it's uplifting. And I didn't hear any really foul language in it, especially nothing worse than what's on the radio right now, which is it's garbage. It's just absolute garbage that's on the radio right now. And I wish that they would play you guys because this is actual like real music with instruments and stuff. So
well, yeah, as far as the lyrical content, it's funny. Like I didn't even realize that. You're right. There's no profanity. And it's not negative. I mean, it's a little edgy, but there might be some. I usually talk about my story and like where it's kind of not negative but kind of sad, and then it builds up like where it's uplifting, and there's other material that we have too that we haven't recorded. That's the same thing. Like I just refuse to write anything negative. I'm just not going to do it. And when I feel like writing something, like say I'm having, some musicians do, is like people that write, like whatever's going on. So if I'm feeling negative, I just won't even write anything because I'm not going to do it. Because music is a powerful medium, and it can enter, you know what I mean? Where it moves people in so many different ways, and I don't want to do that. So, and I appreciate that you noticed that. You have, like I said, you have really good insight. There's no profanity. It's family friendly. Everybody can listen to it. And then we're gonna get like that song I played for you. It's a little bit like my band plays that. We also play that. We just didn't record it yet. So we want to do that too. We have some other songs. So maybe one day you will hear it on the radio because it's more accessible. Do you know what I mean? Where it's trying to write stuff, not trying to, but being able to, to write kind of music like that where everybody can listen to it. I appreciate that a lot because I like that. I've been wanting to do it. My old band, Another Black Day, was super metal. Like it was really metal and negative. Mm-hmm. It was negative, which people like too. I mean, unfortunately, they connect with that as well. But I'm just not going to do that. So yeah, go out and buy our CD. Go out and buy it.
Yeah, I mean, you really can find it. You can find it so easily. Like you said, I mean, almost everything you have is out there on YouTube. So if you just wanted to pop on there and see you guys and see the band playing and listen to the music, but you can also download it on iTunes and Spotify and Napster. Sorry, no offense to Napster. I'm just not used to like listing that one off, but it's out there.
It's on Amazon. It's on iHeartRadio.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
So it's everywhere.
Yeah.
That is super cool.
It's ready to actually possibly we're looking into not necessarily a record label because I don't know if I want to go that route. Nowadays you don't even really need a label. you can just do it yourself, especially if you have a little bit of money. That distribution, like we're talking to a distribution company for us to like be able to put it in stores. You know what I mean? To where like take it and be able to like you'll be able to get it on Walmart.com, Target, at Barnes and Noble. So I'm working on a deal like that, depending if I can if it works out for me. If they so the guy just got off the phone with the guy a couple hours ago about that. He's sending me over some information for us to do a little distribution deal. We'll see what happens.
That's very, very cool. So I was reading a little bit of your bio on the band that's out there. And you list it, from what I understand, you and the guys listed as hard rock, metal, blues. And we were talking offline because I had asked you, what is your favorite band? And you guys don't sound like, there's a lot of bands out there, and we mentioned this offline as well, where, you know, the journalists that'll write up the critique on the band and stuff, that exactly what they do in life is leaving my mind. So I can't quote their job title. But anyway, they'll say, oh, you know, this new band is exactly like Nirvana with a female tone like Evanescence.
Right.
You know, and they're basically kind of pigeonholing it a little bit. You guys, you totally cannot do that because you have a very different sound. And if there's a little bit of a sound that might be like a band, it's then filled with warmth instead of this wide open, you know what I mean? It's so different, but it really truly is rock, metal, blues.
Well, I think that's a good sign. So yes, there's a lot of influences. People always ask you that. I've always hated doing that though. When someone's like, not what's your favorite band, but when like, well, what does your band sound like? People always do that. Like, I play in a band, and they're like, well, what do you guys sound like? I'm like, oh, here we go. And I'm like, I don't know. It's kind of like hard rock, but it's a little bit of metal, kind of, and it's kind of bluesy because what it is, it's literally. Because it's somewhat little bit of metal in there. It's a little metalish. It's not full on, but it's there. So here's the deal. Because people will be like, dude, it's like Soundgarden. You know, like, okay. Oh, it's like Alice in Chains. And like, okay, I'm going to be honest. I like all those bands. Soundgarden is one of my favorite bands. Chris Cornell is one of my favorite singers of all time. I do not. What happens, and artists have been doing this for years, it's just what you're influenced by. I'm also influenced by like Iron Maiden and Metallica, so I have that in my guitar. I was a guitar player for a long time before I started singing. Like I used to be one of those crazy shredder guitar players, like back in the '80s, like those fast, like crazy neoclassical guitar players. So I was influenced by that. I also like the Beatles and Jimi Hendrix. You know, I like classical music as well. So it all comes out, and I like your analysis of it because, like I was telling you when we were offline, that my best friend, who was one of my biggest critics, because we were joking. People also say I sound like Kiss sometimes.
No.
I know it's the singer, and it's fine. I get it, like it's fine. So anyway, we were cracking up because he always jokes with me. He says I sound like Paul Stanley, and I'm like, dude, no, I don't. And he was laughing. He was like, dude, you don't. He was like, but see, I liked Kiss when I was a little kid. Okay, when I was like, that was one of my, not, you know, I liked their makeup, and it was crazy, and I thought it was really cool. So it all just comes out into one big ball of like, it's familiar. Maybe that's what it is. It's like you can't put your finger on it. And like you said, it might start sounding like something, then it changes. Like, oh, that I hear Tool in it. Like people say that, like, oh, you guys are like Alice in Chains, Tool, Soundgarden, Rage Against the Machine, like all these different.
Yeah.
And it's like you can't really put your finger on it because what it is all of us. Like here's the deal. My drummer loves Tool. It's like his favorite band. I love Soundgarden. My bass player loves Dave Matthews. It's three completely. I mean, those are our favorite bands. Do you know what I mean? So it's three completely different bands. And I don't just write everything. The bass player writes a lot of stuff, and so does the drummer. Like I don't, write. They're like, oh, play this, and so like I said, you got my bass player who likes Dave. Like Dave Matthews is his favorite band of all time. He will tell you he hates metal. Like he hates metal, so it keeps us from being. You know what I mean? So it's this weird combination influences that, and so you're spot on with that. It's exactly what it is. It's familiar because it's all that different kinds of music in one. So I appreciate that.
It
Thank you.
really is. It's kind of like you can, for the next person that asks you that question, so, who does your band sound like? Just list off 30 different bands. Because you really could. You could just mess with them and say, well, it's this and this and this and this and this and this, but then this and that, and just go down a list. But that is so cool. Everybody go check out All or Nothing, the latest album, on pretty much anywhere. Amazon, iTunes, Spotify, everywhere. Just go check it out. Go get it because it's an amazing album. And it's happy birthday. It's it's like what?
Not
2
bad.
hours. Might be your birthday?
4 hours from older. It's fine. It's tomorrow.
Oh, it's not older. We stop aging after 40. That doesn't happen.
That's what it is.
The way I look at it is if you have kids by the time you're 40, all right, you're old to them. And you turn whatever age you turn 45, you turn 50, you turn 55, you turn 60, you're still old to them. So you just stop aging because you're thrown in that bucket by your kids, and it's cool. To me, I'm still that little girl. I'm still just curious and climbing trees and doing all kinds of stuff. So no.
It's like in my head, I'm still 16. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. But
Yeah.
It's fun.
It was fun though, right?
I still have a good time, and I'm just kidding about the old. This is my little shtick that I do. No, I actually like the age that I'm at because I've gained enough wisdom to not do stupid crap anymore.
Right.
You get a little bit more wisdom.
Well, Matt, thank you so much. There it is for the whole world to see. Happy birthday! Thank you seriously for this time with me and sharing everything in your story. And it's very inspiring. And it's quite interesting because, like you had mentioned in the beginning, there really was a stigma, I think, with the information society and with the education just of everybody out there. And that addiction it's affected so many people that I think from so many different backgrounds, heritage and upbringing and economics, it just doesn't matter anymore. Mm-hmm. That stigma of, well, you were just a street bum, dirty, disgusting, oh, you're a drug addict? Ugh. Now there's some understanding behind it. And if anything, I would love for people to go back and listen to your story again and understand even more what the individual is going through and what you've gone through just to survive. And
No, go ahead. Sorry.
And your point about how the drugs lie to you. And you get, so many of us, I don't know anybody out there unless they're animatronic that can say, oh, I've never told a lie in my life. We all have. And so just with that simple thought process of what is a lie? And then what happens after you tell that lie? How do you cover it up? And so I love that you explained it that way. Because for someone like myself, I haven't done drugs. I haven't had an addiction to smoking or pills or drinking or anything. Thank God. But it really puts that picture together for me. Because in such a simple instance of a lie, and then to look back about, okay, wow, look what I got myself into with that one stupid lie to that one person. And then to realize what you said, that the drugs lie to you and you get wrapped up in that ball.
Yeah, exactly what it is. Exactly how it's a good analogy. It's exactly what happens. And part of the stigma too, or not stigmatizing, I think, and I didn't really mention it a lot with as far as my band goes. I want people to ask me what the songs are about. Like, I don't want to shove it in people's faces because it's for everybody. Like, I don't care if people get high and listen to our music or drink or like that. 'Cause there's some bands that are like recovery bands. That's all they do. But part of what I'm doing is, if it can reach, if one person can listen to one of those songs and relate and reach out and be like, hey man, what did this guy did something, you know what I mean? And they talk, because I always talk to people. People message me all the time, and I talk to them, or just whatever. And they just like read about it, research it, and see what happened. Then that one more person, you know what I mean? Like there's some out that they're not alone. That's the whole point. Is like when we're wrapped up in that, we feel alone, and then when you get people chastising you, like, oh, he's just a piece of crap drug addict, then it makes it even worse. Then you isolate even more. So part of the Wikof project is to do that, is through music, and not just our main thing. Like I said, there's some bands that like just do. Like, I'm open for is like, there was a thing of like, oh, why would you want to play in bars? Okay, because we play regular shows, right? Not just recovery or churches. And my thing is like, why wouldn't I? Like, why wouldn't I want to go? What if there's a guy that's sitting in that bar that's struggling? It was like, what is this guy singing about? And then he starts talking to me. He asks me if I want to drink. I'm like, no, brother, I don't drink. I haven't had one in 7 years. And then the guy starts talking to me. And then I tell him a little bit of, you know what I mean? And then
Yeah,
he goes home and he's like, dude, that guy was cool as shit. Like, he was cool. Like, he's rocking out playing, and he's like, he doesn't drink. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like
I
this
do.
weird thing that I want to try to, not try, but it's just that hopefully will happen with it. You know what I mean? Where
Yeah.
and I'm doing it for the right reasons. That's why I want to say about why I share the story about being a rock star and doing all that stuff, is because today, and why it's more honest, and I think it's getting more traction. Like and I'm not bragging or anything, but in 6 months, I've gotten a lot of attention off of it. I don't know why, and maybe it's because I'm doing it the right way, and it's no expectations. I'm not trying to be a rock star and trying to make money, and maybe it'll help somebody. You know what I mean? And I just feel like it's honest, and my whole band feels the same way. So it's not like I'm the only one that's like, because people always are surprised by that. Like your whole opener, I'm like, oh yeah, that's not negotiable. Like they all, and I think that it'll be blessed, instead of and if it doesn't, that's okay, because I'm still having a good time. I'm
Oh,
getting
yeah.
to do stuff like this.
Well, thank you. And there's a reason, a season, and a lifetime.
Right.
If you look at the reason and the season of the addiction, now I hope and I pray for your lifetime of sobriety and be viral. That's the beauty. My background is in corporate marketing. So I learned a long time ago how to be viral, but then you gave me social media. Please, it's so easy to be however you want to be. If you're inspirational, if you're positive, if you're negative, it's all viral these days.
Yeah.
And I think this is a perfect time and place because, like we had talked about, the death toll is rising. And so with an epidemic, there's going to be a mass of people that come together and say, okay, enough, and stop. And so we need more of you. We need more bands like you. Because I truly do believe that the ear garbage that's on TV that's on radio will come to an end, or at least slow down. And it's going to be replaced with good music like what you guys are producing. And I'm
Thank you.
I'm in awe. But thank you so much, Matt. I think I've taken up enough of your time. I think we've been on here for almost over an hour. And so I want to thank you and wish you the happiest birthday ever. And you know what? You have another birthday coming up, because when it's all said and done, science, yeah, you know what? Science has its place. And as science will say, for a heroin addict to recover, it's 20% chance that you'll actually recover and not relapse. And for that is so strong. The odds are stacked against an individual so high that every year you come up on another clean year is another birthday. So you have a birthday tomorrow, and then I'm going to wish you another birthday. I'm going to put it in my calendar when we hang up. I'm going to wish you another birthday on March 10th because that's a big date.
Thanks. You have such a good memory. I said that a while back. Now, like March 10th. You're really good at
Well, thank you.
drugs or drink, so you have a clear mind. So kids, if you don't drink and do drugs, you'll have a great memory like Elizabeth has, okay?
Well, thank you. I do like a glass of wine every once in a while, but thank you.
Excessive drinking or drugs.
Right, exactly. Exactly. And on that note, I want to say good night and thank you again so much and all the world of success to you guys. And say hello to the guys for me, please.
To my guys?
Yeah, the Wikof project. Yes.
Yeah, they're probably like, what? Hey, DJ.
Awesomeness. All right. Well, you have a good night. Thank you so much again.
All right, thank you, Elizabeth. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
Of course. All right. Talk to you soon.
All right, night.
Good night. Wow, guys. Oh, my goodness. I love it. I love when these interviews go long and we get so much wonderful information from such amazing people. And I'm going to be back with you tomorrow morning. So if you're missing the weird and wacky news or maybe what happened to comedy, I'll explain everything tomorrow morning. Come on back. Love you guys. You are loved. You are blessed. And I hope that you have a wonderful evening. Mwah. Good night.